Gotta say, I'm really impressed you're here with us today.
Yeah?
Choosing to dive deep into this tech stuff
Yeah?
instead of, all the other things you could be doing right now.
Right.
It tells me you're the kind of person who wants to be ahead of the curve when it comes to AI, especially.
Totally.
And today, we're diving into something that, well, the name's not very exciting, to be honest.
hmm
It's called the Model Context Protocol.
Model Context Protocol, MCP.
Yeah, MCP. Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, does it?
Not really, no.
Sounds like something you'd find in a corporate handbook.
Like a boring
Mm-mm.
technical document, yeah.
But trust me on this MCP thing. It's anything but boring.
I believe you.
It has the potential to completely change how software works.
And we've seen that happen before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the most revolutionary tech
Oh, yeah.
has the most underwhelming name, like packet switching.
Exactly. Nobody gets excited about packet switching, but it's
But the internet wouldn't work without it.
it's the foundation of the internet. So today we're going to unpack this whole MCP thing.
Let's do it.
We'll look at its parts, like servers, clients, hosts, all that,
Get into the nuts and bolts.
and figure out how it could change how we interact with everything online.
Yeah.
Apps, websites, the whole deal.
Especially with all these AI agents popping up now. You've got Claude, OpenAI's tools, Cursor,
Right. And Siri even could be huge in the future.
for sure.
MCP is the glue that connects all these agents to all the different services out there.
Because right now, it's a mess.
It is, yeah.
If you want an AI to work with your email
Or your bank account.
or your shopping app, it's like a custom job every single time.
Like building a whole new bridge for each one.
Exactly.
Yep.
But the team behind Claude,
Anthropic, yeah.
they came up with a good analogy. They said MCP is like the USB-C connector for AI and web services.
That's actually brilliant. Remember how it used to be with all those different chargers?
Oh, I still have a drawer full of them somewhere.
Right. And then USB-C comes along and it's like, boom, one connector for everything.
Your phone, your laptop, your headphones, everything.
That's the kind of simplification MCP wants to bring. Universal, streamlined connection between AI and the entire internet.
A much more elegant solution, for sure.
So think about this. Right now, you want to do something online, check your bank balance, look at social media. You open a browser, type in a website, click buttons, the whole 9 yards.
The usual rigmarole.
But with MCP, your AI agent could handle a lot of that stuff.
In the background, totally automated.
Maybe you wouldn't even need the browser for some things.
Imagine saying, pay my electricity bill, and your AI just does it.
Yeah.
Connects to your provider, gets the amount, pays it. Done.
No logging in, no clicking through menus.
That's the future MCP is aiming for.
Now, there's a big question that comes up with all this.
Uh-oh, I think I know what you're going to say.
Security, right.
Big time.
You're giving AI access to your apps, your data. That's a huge deal.
You got to be really careful.
Absolutely. The sources we've been looking at make that very clear.
Rock-solid security is non-negotiable here.
So, if we're going to have AI acting on our behalf across all these services, those connections have to be super secure.
Right.
Our data has to be protected.
And we need to be in total control.
Like granular control over what the AI can and cannot do.
Absolutely. Which actually makes me think
Yeah.
this whole security challenge, it's
Yeah.
also a huge opportunity
Oh, interesting.
for developers, for entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
figuring out how to build these secure, trustworthy connections with MCP.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Like a whole new field opening up. Okay, so let's break down what makes up this MCP thing.
Right, let's get technical.
There are three main parts: the host, the client, and the server.
3 pillars of the MCP world.
So the host is like the main environment
Okay.
where the AI is running.
The brain, basically.
Right, the brain of the operation.
Where the magic happens.
Like Claude itself is a host or a development environment like Cursor.
Got it.
And then inside the host, you have the client.
Okay.
This is the part that knows how to talk to MCP servers.
Looks like the messenger then.
Yeah, the dedicated messenger for all things MCP.
Okay, so the client communicates. What about the server?
All right, so the MCP server is where it gets interesting.
This is where we connect to all the other stuff online, right?
Exactly. The server acts like a translator and a gatekeeper.
Interesting.
It sits between the client, back in the host,
Uh-huh.
and the actual service you want to use. Your database, Amazon, Instagram, whatever.
So, like, if I want my AI to do something on Instagram?
The MCP server for Instagram is what makes it happen.
Got it.
And the key thing here, our sources emphasize this, is that these servers have controlled functions.
Controlled functions. I like the sound of that.
Meaning they don't just give the AI free rein.
No free-for-all. Good.
Right. They limit what the AI can do on that particular service.
Much safer that way.
So let's say your AI wants to find the latest news on some topic on Twitter.
Okay.
The MCP server for Twitter knows exactly which commands to send.
So it's secure.
Super secure, and only retrieves the info it's supposed to.
That's reassuring.
Now, setting up these servers might sound complicated, but
It's going to be some crazy coding, right?
actually not really. There are tools like UV for Python and NPX for Node.js.
NPX.
These tools let you basically download and run pre-built servers.
No way. So simple.
Straight from the cloud, one command in your terminal, and boom, you're good to go.
That's awesome.
And think about what that means. Even if you're not like a hardcore coder,
Right.
you can experiment with MCP, connect AI to different services.
Wow, it's like anyone could do this now.
The barrier to entry is way lower.
That's huge for innovation, I bet.
Oh, absolutely. And the range of services you can connect to is already pretty impressive.
Like what?
We're talking databases like Superbase, PostgreSQL,
The big ones.
e-commerce platforms, social media, the whole shebang.
Wow.
Developer tools like GitHub, Figma, even more specialized stuff like Smith.ai and their ARIG,
And what?
retrieval augmented generation. It's like a way for AI to access and use external knowledge.
Huh. Interesting.
Integrations with YouTube, Notion, even Apple tools are out there.
So basically anything online could be connected through this.
Potentially, yeah. It's a pretty wild thought.
It is. It's like
Say it.
any digital service could become a building block for AI.
Right. If they have an MCP server, they're basically plugging into this whole AI ecosystem.
Automation, personalized experiences, totally new applications.
It's mind-blowing, the possibilities.
For sure.
Now, one example that stood out to me was the PostgreSQL MCP server.
Real about it.
The source specifically mentioned a read-only version.
Okay, so it can't mess anything up.
Exactly. Super important for security.
Makes sense.
This lets the AI understand the database, how it's structured, what data it holds, but no risk of accidentally deleting or changing anything.
Smart move.
Imagine you're building an app, right?
Okay.
Your AI assistant can query the database to understand the data model.
So it can help you make better decisions about the app.
Exactly. That's the kind of power we're talking about.
That's cool.
Now, the source goes into how to set this up, starting with Claude Desktop.
Okay.
There's a config file. It's called claudedesktop-config.json.
Catchy name.
You might need to find it or create it in a specific folder, depending on if you're using macOS or Windows.
Ah, the joys of file systems.
Then, for actually running the PostgreSQL server itself,
Uh-huh.
you can use Docker or those command line tools we mentioned, NPX or UV.
I'm guessing NPX is the easiest?
The source used NPX as
Okay.
the example, yeah. And it needs a connection string from Superbase.
Superbase, that's a cloud database, right?
Right. And they emphasize that port 5432 is super important for PostgreSQL connections.
Like a specific door the software needs to use.
Exactly.
Got it.
Inside Claude Desktop itself, you need to turn on development mode.
Development mode.
And watch out, there are actually 2 different settings menus in the app.
Ooh, tricky.
Yeah, I gotta make sure you're in the right one.
Okay.
After that, check the logs for any errors when connecting to the server.
Good troubleshooting advice.
Oh, and for Windows users, big heads up.
Oh no, what is it?
If you're using MPX, you need to have Node.js and NPM installed directly on Windows.
Not just in WSL.
Nope. It has to be native.
I could trip people up.
Easily. Okay, so the demo they showed of Claude actually using the database through MCP.
Yeah.
Super impressive.
What it did too.
Claude answered a question about social media platforms listed in the database.
Okay.
But here's the key thing. Only after asking permission
Oh, good.
and showing a clear warning about accessing data.
Love to see that.
Like security baked right into the design.
Essential.
Totally agree. Then they talked about using MCP servers with Cursor AI.
That's the AI coding tool, right?
Yeah. It's all about voice-controlled software development.
That's so cool.
Seems like Cursor has built-in features for managing these MCP tools right in its settings.
So smooth, everything in one place.
To add the PostgreSQL server, They took that same NPX command
Okay.
and tweaked it a bit for WSL on Windows.
Always got to watch out for those WSL quirks.
Got to use CMDC prefix.
Oh, right.
These little command line things can be lifesavers.
Totally agree.
And once the connection worked, boom, a little green dot lit up in Cursor.
That's always a good feeling.
Right. You're like, yes, it's alive.
Exactly.
They really highlighted how powerful it is for Cursor to be able to, like, see the database.
So it can help you troubleshoot or just understand the data structure.
Precisely.
Powerful stuff.
But they were super clear about not jumping into write access right away.
Start with read-only, make sure you understand what you're doing.
Exactly. Baby steps.
Safety first.
Now, another cool one they showed is the Figma Context MCP.
Figma, that's for design, right?
Yeah, like the go-to design tool these days.
So MCP for designers, that's interesting.
Right. Big shout out to a user named Gyps who built this.
Awesome.
There's even a video that explains how it works.
I'll have to check that out.
To run this Figma server locally, you need Node.js.
Okay.
And you need a personal access token from Figma's developer API.
API key, the usual.
And the source was very clear. Keep that terminal window running.
So the server stays up?
If you close it, the connection's gone.
Got it.
Setting up the Figma connection in Cursor is through a type called SSE.
SSE, okay.
And the address is localhost but 33333.
Specific address.
It's like a custom port just for Figma MCP.
Interesting.
So the example they gave, it's pretty mind-blowing.
Okay, hit me with it.
You copy a link to something in your Figma design. Then you ask Cursor to add that design to a next.js page.
Wait, so it's taking the design and turning it into code?
Yeah.
Whoa.
It worked pretty well, got the basic layout right. There were some issues with SVGs, scalable vector graphics.
Yeah, those can be tricky.
But still, even with that hiccup, the potential is huge.
Imagine AI translating your designs into working code.
Right, designers and developers working seamlessly together.
That would change everything.
All right, so zooming out a bit.
Big picture time.
The takeaway here is MCP might sound technical, but
it could be a total game changer.
Absolutely. It's a standardized, secure way for AI to connect to, well, pretty much anything online.
Streamlining the whole interaction between AI agents and all these different services.
And the thing is, it's super early days.
Like first inning.
Right. If you're starting to learn about MCP now,
you're ahead of the curve, big time.
The sources we looked at really encourage you to check out a few things.
What are they?
Anthropic has an introductory article and their GitHub repo where MCP is being developed.
Open source. Love that.
And there's a website, modelcontextprotocol.com, with more examples and resources.
So there's a whole community growing around this already.
It's exciting. So here are some questions to think about.
Hit me.
Could you figure out how to build an MCP server for a specific industry?
Like a niche use case.
Yeah. Or maybe you help businesses understand and use MCP.
Consultant, trainer, or something like that.
Or even build a whole new product based on this agent-driven internet thing.
The possibilities are endless.
Now, security is paramount here.
Can't stress that enough.
Check out Glemma.ai. They have a list of popular and trusted MCP servers.
Okay.
Look at weekly downloads, GitHub stars, all that.
Signs of a healthy project.
But be super careful about running random code you find online.
Don't trust everything you see on the internet.
Right, especially when it comes to code you're running on your own machine.
Words to live by.
So even if MCP doesn't become the one and only standard,
it's pointing to something much bigger.
This idea of a more standardized, agent-friendly internet, it feels inevitable.
Like the next evolution of the web.
Yeah, and MCP is a big step in that direction.
So understanding it now is a smart move.
Totally agree. All right, well, that was our deep dive into the Model Context Protocol.
MCP, yeah.
Hopefully it wasn't as boring as the name might suggest.
Not even close.
So go out there and explore this new frontier. We're just scratching the surface here.
Who knows what we'll be able to do with this in a few years.
The future is coming, folks, and it might just be powered by MCP.
Let's go build it.